Chapter 89. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground like a puddle of mud. This spear had directly shattered his arms. The powerful impact had also shattered his internal organs. There was no doubt that he would die. The power of a low-grade black-rank martial skill was finally revealed. Lu Ming had only cultivated to the 2nd level, but its power was twice as strong as the 6th level of a high-grade yellow-rank martial skill. How can you be so strong? Who are you? The disciple of the Shifang sword sect kept coughing up blood and asked unwillingly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He had been defeated in one move with his cultivation at the peak of LV8 Martial Master. The cultivation that Lu Ming displayed was clearly only at the 8th level of the Martial Master realm. Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lu Ming. Lu Ming said indifferently. Mystic Essence Sword Sect? The young man muttered. Then, his eyes became unfocused and lifeless. At the same time, the other 2 LV8 Martial Master experts were also dead. Their internal organs were also shattered by Lu Ming. Although spear techniques were not as varied as sword techniques, they were more violent, direct, and domineering. Only the fat young man was left. At the moment, the fat young man's face was pale without a trace of blood. His body kept trembling and cold sweat poured down his face. Lu Ming walked toward the fat young man step by step. "No, don't kill me," the fat young man screamed in horror. "Tell me, why did the Shifang sword sect capture so many ordinary stone pickers?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "I can tell you, but you have to promise not to kill me." The fat young man rolled his eyes and shouted. "Oh, you don't want to talk? Then you can go to hell." Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he raised the spear in his hand. The fat young man was scared out of his wits. He shouted, "I'll talk, I'll talk, I'll talk." Lu Ming looked at him coldly, waiting for him to continue. "We came with Senior Brother Zheng. He said he would bring us to find treasures, so we came." Senior Martial Brother Zheng said that according to his ancestors' ancient records, there is an extinct volcano in the inner region of the South Ridge Flame Domain, and that there are treasures inside. The plump young man hurriedly explained. "Then why did you capture so many normal stone pickers?" Lu Ming asked. "That's because the surroundings of the extinct volcano are very unstable. From time to time, magma and flames would rush out, and even the ground would sink. We need someone to scout the way to find a safe path, and only then can we enter the extinct volcano." The fat young man was scared to death as he explained everything in detail. Lu Ming frowned. It was obvious that they wanted to use the lives of the stone pickers to pave the way for them. This was a martial arts expert. The lives of ordinary people were like ants in their eyes. Lu Ming had never been lenient towards his enemies, but he could not disregard the lives of others for his own selfish reasons. Lu Ming thought for a moment and asked, "What kind of treasure is inside that extinct volcano?" "I don't know. Senior Martial Brother Zheng didn't tell us. I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go now?" The fat young man begged. He was thinking about how to ask Senior Martial Brother Zheng to kill Lu Ming after he escaped. "Wait, I have another question. What's the cultivation of your Senior Martial Brother Zheng? Is there anyone stronger than him?" Lu Ming asked again. The fat young man answered honestly, "Senior Martial Brother Zheng is a famous genius of the Shifang sword sect. He has already won 8 consecutive matches on the bronze platform. He is not much weaker than the geniuses on the bronze ranking. Among the disciples here, Senior Martial Brother Zheng is the strongest." 8 consecutive matches on the bronze ranking? Lu Ming muttered. The 5 major sects of the Burning Sun Empire divided their disciples into bronze, silver, and gold ranks. Similarly, every sect had a bronze ranking and a silver ranking. The rules were exactly the same. "All right, I've told you everything you wanted me to say. Can you let me go now?" The fat young man said. "Let you go? When did I say I'd let you go?" Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he thrust his spear and pierced the fat young man's heart. 8 consecutive matches on the bronze platform? I wonder how powerful the Shifang sword sect's 8 consecutive matches are. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a strong desire to fight. Back then, he vomited blood after being punched by He Tai. He Tai was the Mystic Essence Sword sect's 8 consecutive matches on the bronze platform. They both had 8 consecutive matches on the bronze platform, but they belonged to 2 different sects. Their strength was not the same, but the difference was not too big either. Lu Ming's strength had improved greatly during this period, and it was a good time to test the results. Then, Lu Ming devoured all the essence blood of the Shifang Sword sect disciples and found a place to refine it. As for the stone pickers, they had already fled like a swarm of bees when the Decimo Sword sect disciples had been killed. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's true qi had fully recovered and reached its peak. Then, Lu Ming ran in the direction of the extinct volcano that the fat young man mentioned. In the depths of the central region of the Lingnan fire domain, near the inner region, there was a tall extinct volcano. It was unknown when this volcano had stopped erupting, but the temperature around the extinct volcano was still shockingly high. The ground was crimson red. A few thousand meters away from the extinct volcano, there were more than 20 young men. Needless to say, they were all disciples of the Shifang Sword sect. More than 30 stone pickers were surrounded by the disciples of the Shifang Sword sect. More than 30 stone pickers were huddled together, their faces filled with fear as they trembled. Young heroes of Shifang Sword sect, I beg of you. It's really dangerous there. You want us to explore the way, that's just sending us to our deaths. I have parents and children to take care of. I beg of you to let me go back. A burly man in his 50s kept bowing and begging. Whoosh! With a flash of a sword, the burly man's head flew up high. So noisy. You want to leave? I'll send you on your way now. A disciple of the Shifang Sword sect said coldly as he sheathed his sword. The other stone pickers kept quiet out of fear, not daring to speak anymore. However, the look of despair on their faces was even more intense. You, hurry up and scout. If you're lucky enough to make it, you can still keep your life. A disciple of the Shifang Sword sect pointed at a dark-skinned burly man. The burly man's eyes were filled with despair as his body trembled non-stop. If you don't want to go, then die now. The disciple of the Shifang Sword sect said coldly. I'll go, I'll go. The burly man said in a trembling voice. Then, he walked out while trembling all over. If he went out to scout, there might be a way out. If he didn't go, he would die. The burly man should have cultivated martial arts, but he had not awakened his bloodline. He was only a first-grade martial warrior. He walked forward carefully, and soon, he had walked more than 200 meters. Whoosh! Suddenly, a stream of lava rushed out from the ground and drowned the burly man. The burly man screamed and turned into a ball of fire. In a few breaths, he was turned into a pile of charcoal. Chapter 90. A living person turned into charcoal in an instant. It was a horrifying scene. When the other stone pickers saw it, they trembled in fear. However, the disciples of Shifang Sword sect were calm and even cold. Mark the place where you just walked. Among the disciples of Shifang Sword sect, a young man with dark skin and a cold face ordered. This cold young man was the senior brother Zheng that the Shifang Sword sect disciple had mentioned earlier, Zhang Qian. He didn't even look at the stone pickers. In his eyes, these stone pickers were just ants, tools to be used. His gaze was fixated on the extinct volcano in front of him. His eyes were blazing. According to the records left by my ancestors, this is the place. I must get the spiritual fire elixir. As long as I can get it, my physical body will be able to reach grade 2. Then, my strength will increase greatly. I will be able to win 10 consecutive victories on the bronze platform and get on the bronze list. Not only will my physical body reach grade 2, but it will also reach a higher level. 300 years ago, my ancestors got the spiritual fire elixir here. Now that 300 years have passed, there must be a lot of spiritual fire elixir here. If I have enough, it's not impossible to reach grade 3 physical body. Haha, then how much will my combat strength increase? Zheng Qian thought fervently. Yes, senior brother Zheng. The disciples of Shifang Sword sect responded. Then, they threw out balls of white powder and sprinkled it on the place where the burly man walked, forming a safe route. Now, you, go and find the way. The disciples of Shifang's sword sect pointed at a young man in his 20s. The young man's face turned pale. He was in despair and cold sweat dripped down. He shouted, "I beg you, let me go. I beg you. Ahai, young heroes, please let Ahai go. Let me take his place. He's still young." A white-haired old man walked out and knelt on the ground. He kept kowtowing. "Grandpa, no, you can't go," the young man shouted. "Let me do it. Let me do it. Please let Ahai go. He's still young." The old man did not seem to hear the young man and kept kowtowing. Oh, what a pair of grandfather and grandson. "All right, I'll let you go. Old man, go and find the way." A disciple of Shifang's sword sect with a flat nose waved his hand and said, "Grandpa, Grandpa, don't go." The young man cried out loudly as tears streamed down his face. "Ahai, Grandpa is already so old. It doesn't matter anymore, but you must live on." The old man warned the young man. Then, without turning back, he continued walking forward. The young man watched in despair. 200 meters ahead, the burly man from before had passed through. It was very safe, and the old man passed through smoothly. At this point, the old man carefully avoided the place where the lava was spurted out and continued forward. However, before he could walk 100 meters, the old man stepped on the ground. The ground suddenly cracked and the old man fell down. Immediately after, there was a burst of miserable shrieks. After a few breaths, there was no more sound. "Grandfather!" the young man roared in despair. The other stone pickers were even more flustered, their faces pale. "Make a mark." Zheng Qian continued to instruct. Whoosh, whoosh. Balls of white powder were tossed out, marking out the safe routes and the dangerous areas. It's your turn. Go up." The Decimo Sword faction disciple pointed at the young man from before. The young man's expression changed drastically. He shouted, just now, my grandfather had already replaced me. Why are you still asking me to go? Replace you? I never said that he would replace you. He asked to go first. Of course, I have to satisfy him. Now, it's your turn." The Decimo Sword faction disciple said coldly with a playful look on his face. The other disciples of the 10 Directions Sword sect looked on indifferently. No, you can't do this. You can't do this. I'm not going. I'm not going." The young man kept shaking his head as he screamed. The other stone pickers kept quiet out of fear. They did not dare to say a word, fearing that they would be noticed by the Decimo Sword faction disciples. "You're not going?" The Decimo Sword faction disciple's face turned cold. He sneered and said, "You're not going, right? If you're not going, I'll send you on your way to accompany your dead grandfather." He waved his battle sword, and a cold murderous intent shrouded the young man. The young man's eyes were filled with fear. In the end, he still moved forward while trembling. When the young man walked forward for dozens of meters, he suddenly ran to the side crazily. "Trying to escape? You're courting death," the Decimo Sword faction disciple shouted. He held his sword with both hands and slashed at the young man who was running away. Whoosh! A sword aura burst out and crossed dozens of meters in an instant, cutting the young man in half. "I've said it before. If you go forward obediently, you might have a chance to live. If you want to escape, only death awaits." The Decimo Sword faction disciple sneered. He then pointed again and said, "You, go and scout." The people who were pointed at walked out in despair. They trembled as they moved forward, hoping that they would be lucky enough to reach the end. But the result was still death. Just like that, the stone pickers who went forward to scout died one by one in the lava. But the safe route was slowly being explored. The closer it was to the extinct volcano, the more dangerous it was. The ground was unstable. More than a dozen stone pickers died in the blink of an eye. At this moment, they were about 100 meters away from the extinct volcano. He called a few more people to investigate. Finally, a complete and safe path appeared. "Young heroes, can we leave now?" One of the remaining 10 or so stone pickers asked softly. "Leave? Leave where? The news here can't be leaked." Zheng Qian, who had been silent, said. What? What do you mean? The stone pickers' expressions changed drastically. What do we mean? All of you have to die. The Decimo Sword faction disciple sneered. No, no, you said that you would let us go as long as you found a safe route. You can't do this. You're disciples of the Decimo Sword faction. You can't go back on your words. I beg you. No, I don't want to die. I curse you to die a horrible death. The 10 or so stone pickers who had a glimmer of hope were now in despair. They screamed crazily. Curse us. You know that we're disciples of the Decimo Sword faction. Who dares to kill us? The Decimo Sword faction disciple sneered. Hey! There's someone over there. He's walking over here. Suddenly, a disciple of the Decimo Sword faction shouted. The others could not help but look in that direction. At the rear right, a young figure was walking over step by step. That figure was about 15 or 16 years old. He had a slender figure and a delicate face. However, his eyes were extremely cold, so cold that it was terrifying. Chapter 91. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the entire place. When he saw the charred bodies, he could roughly guess what had happened. A cold and sharp killing intent burst out of his heart. Although martial artists had great power, they had their own rules and pride. Generally, martial artists disdained to kill ordinary people. But these disciples of Shifang's sword sect had lost their bottom line. In order to achieve their goal, they would do anything. Lu Ming's killing intent had never been so strong. Feeling Lu Ming's killing intent, the disciples of Shifang's sword sect narrowed their eyes. Zheng Qian frowned slightly. He remembered that he had sent 9 people in that direction, but until now, not only did no one come, but a strange young man also came. Something was wrong. Zheng Qian's expression changed. Lu Ming walked step by step. It seemed very slow, but in fact, it was very fast. In a few breaths, he came to the front of the disciples of Shifang's sword sect. Boy, how did you come here? And where are the disciples of Shifang's sword sect over there? Did you see them? A disciple of Shifang's sword sect shouted. I saw them, but they're all dead. Lu Ming responded indifferently. More than 20 disciples of Shifang's sword sect changed their faces. Someone shouted, Say, how did they die? Lu Ming smiled coldly. With a wave of his hand, the fire-patterned spear appeared. A powerful aura burst out and he said, Of course they were killed by me. Now, I'll send you down to accompany them. Killed by you? Brat, you've got guts. Little bastard, how dare you kill the disciples of Shifang's sword sect? You're dead. Not only you, but your family is also dead. Say, what method did you use to sneak attack? You want to kill us? You're overestimating yourself. I'll kill you. Lu Ming's words caused an uproar. A burly young man strode out, holding a giant sword, and chopped at Lu Ming's head. If this sword hit, it would definitely cut Lu Ming in half. Whoosh! A bolt of lightning flashed, and the burly young man's body suddenly stiffened. With a clang, his sword fell to the ground. Then, he grabbed his throat with both hands. His eyes were wide open like a dead fish, revealing a look of disbelief. There was a bloody hole in his throat, and blood kept flowing out. The chasing thunder of the Fire Astral Spear Art was the fastest move in the Fire Astral Spear Art. The disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect did not even see how Lu Ming made his move. Those who kill will be killed by others. If you want to kill me, then you must be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming's indifferent voice sounded. The burly young man fell to the ground and struggled for a few moments before losing all signs of life. Well done. The dozen or so stone pickers roared in their hearts. Although they didn't dare to say it out loud, they were extremely happy. Zheng Qian's eyes narrowed slightly as he said, What fast speed. Everyone, attack together and kill him together. Kill. Die. All of a sudden, more than a dozen disciples of the Shifang sword sect roared. They leaped high into the air and slashed out streaks of sharp sword auras toward Lu Ming. The weakest among these disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect was a 6th-level martial master, while the strongest was an 8th-level martial master. With more than a dozen people working together, their momentum was extremely terrifying. Even a 9th-level martial master expert would be chopped to death by the chaotic swords. However, Lu Ming did not move at all. He didn't even blink his eyes. Fire astral spear art, fire dance. Suddenly, Lu Ming held the end of the spear in his hand and stabbed forward with the long spear. Hoo-hoo, the sound of the long spear vibrating could be heard. Then, fiery red flames appeared in the air. These flames were crimson, poignant, and beautiful. They were like flaming flowers and dancing flames. When the flaming flowers bloomed, screams could be heard from the scene. More than a dozen disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect retreated as their blood drifted in the air. More than a dozen disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect had a bloody hole in their throat or heart. In one move, 13 disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect were dead. However, Lu Ming did not stop at all. He strode forward and swept out his long spear. Moon seizing. Peng peng. A series of bone-breaking sounds could be heard. 8 youths of the 10 Directions sword sect flew far away. They fell to the ground and stopped breathing after a while. Like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, it completely swept through. This was Lu Ming's current combat strength. The fire astral spear art had been cultivated to the 2nd level. Coupled with the fact that his cultivation had broken through to the early 8th level martial master, his combat strength had increased to a terrifying level. On the field, there were only 3 disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect left. One was Zheng Qian, the other was a 9th level martial master expert. The last one was the young man with a flat nose. He was standing close to the stone pickers, so Lu Ming's attack did not reach him. At this moment, the young man with a flat nose had a miserable expression. His legs were trembling non-stop. As for Zheng Qian, his expression was extremely solemn. Your combat strength is very strong, but you have killed so many disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect. From now on, no one can save you. Zheng Qian said in a cold voice. As long as I kill all of you, who will know that I did it? Lu Ming smiled indifferently. Ha ha ha, you want to kill me? I admit that you are very strong and I don't have full confidence in killing you. But you want to kill me? I will let you clearly understand how laughable your words are. Zheng Qian pointed his sword at Lu Ming. A powerful red sword qi was swallowing and spitting out. Junior brother Zhao, let's kill him together. Zheng Qian suddenly shouted. His figure exploded as he slashed at Lu Ming with his sword. The battle sword slashed through the air, producing an ear-piercing sonic boom. At the same time, on the other side, the 9th level martial master disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect also exploded and attacked Lu Ming with his sword. Swish. Lu Ming struck upwards. Clang. Clang. The long spear and the 2 battle swords collided, producing a violent vibration. Lu Ming's figure shook slightly as he took 3 steps back. Zheng Qian was also thrown back a few meters and landed on the ground. As for the 9th level martial master youth, he was thrown back more than 10 meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. This Zheng Qian, what a strong strength. Lu Ming's gaze moved. Although it was only a single move, Lu Ming could feel that the power of Zheng Qian's battle sword was incomparably powerful, like a stormy sea. Compared to him, the other 9th level martial master youth was trash. He was definitely not weaker than He Tai. The reason why Lu Ming retreated was basically because of Zheng Qian. At this moment, Zheng Qian's heart was also incomparably shocked. Lu Ming's strength was also beyond his expectations. He was not weaker than him in the slightest and was even stronger. Kill. There was nothing to say. The 2 sides were already mortal enemies. Only when one side fell would it end. The 2 sides fought again. Zheng Qian and Lu Ming both unleashed their bloodline. This time, Zheng Qian was the main attacker while the other 9th level martial master youth attacked from the side. For a moment, Lu Ming was somewhat passive. Chapter 92. Cross-slaying sword. Zheng Qian held a huge sword that was wider than his palm. His attack was extremely overbearing. With a slash, the sword light formed a cross and slashed down at Lu Ming. Its power was extremely great. Broken armor. Lu Ming's long spear shook and the tip of the spear formed a rotating cutting force that collided with Zheng Qian's sword light. Clang. With a loud explosion, Lu Ming retreated 2 steps while Zheng Qian retreated 3 steps. In a head-on confrontation, Lu Ming had a slight upper hand. How can this Zheng Qian's attack power be so strong? The martial skill he used was clearly not a profound level martial skill, but a superior yellow level martial skill. Although it has been cultivated to an extremely high level, its attack power can't be so strong. A trace of suspicion flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Although Zheng Qian's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level martial master and he had unleashed his 5th level bloodline, it was impossible for his attack power to be so strong without a profound level martial skill. He was only slightly at a disadvantage when facing Lu Ming head-on. Lu Ming's true qi was 3 times stronger and more condensed than ordinary true qi. In addition, he had already cultivated the astral fire spear technique to the 2nd level. Lu Ming could defeat an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the martial master realm in one move. Right, it's his physical body. This Zheng Qian's physical body is extremely strong. He should have cultivated the Tao of body refining. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He found that Zheng Qian's muscles were bulging and his skin was covered with a layer of faint red light. It must be his physical body. Zheng Qian cultivated the body refining technique. His physical body combined with his true qi could erupt with amazing combat power. That was why he could compete with Lu Ming. Kai. At this moment, a sword light stabbed towards Lu Ming. How troublesome. Lu Ming frowned and swung his spear. It collided with a thin sword and a figure retreated far away. It was the disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect who was in the 9th level martial master realm. Although this 10 Directions sword sect disciple's attack power was not strong, his movement technique was not weak. He took advantage of the moment when Lu Ming revealed a flaw to launch a sneak attack. If I activate my bloodline, defeating them will be a piece of cake. However, I can't always rely on bloodline eruption. The duration of my bloodline eruption is too short, so it can only be used as a trump card. I can't use it in a regular battle. It's better to use my current state to deal with them. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and charged toward Zheng Qian. Landslide. The long spear smashed down heavily from above. Zheng Qian's eyes narrowed as he blocked with his sword. Boom! The rocks under Zheng Qian's feet shattered as he retreated. He's only at the early stage of the 8th level martial master. Although he cultivated a profound level martial skill, how could he be so powerful? My physical body has already been cultivated to grade 1 great perfection, but I still can't beat him. The shock in Zheng Qian's heart was extreme. It would be normal for someone of the same level to suppress him. However, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the early stage of martial master realm. How did he do it? Kill. Lu Ming's fighting spirit was like a rainbow as he constantly attacked Zheng Qian. It was a good opportunity to use Zheng Qian to hone his spear skills. The rolling dragon-shaped true qi was constantly injected into the long spear. One spear after another, Lu Ming was like an invincible general galloping on the battlefield. Zheng Qian was completely suppressed. Whoosh! At this moment, a sword light suddenly stabbed toward Lu Ming's back. I'm waiting for you to make a move. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes as he swept out his long spear without looking back. Moon seizing. A red moonlight flashed. The 10 Directions sword sect's 9th level martial master disciple was shocked. He used his movement technique and wanted to retreat. However, it was too late. The long spear was 8 feet long. Coupled with the length of his arm, it completely covered a distance of more than 3 meters. Block it. The 10 Directions sword sect's disciple was shocked and used his long sword to block in front of him. However, his long sword was a thin sword and the root could not block it. Clang! Lu Ming's long spear struck his long sword. A violent force erupted and the long sword bent over. The body of the sword and the body of the spear struck his chest heavily. Bang! The 10 Directions sword sect's disciple's body was sent flying like a sandbag. His body was close to the ground as he slid dozens of meters away, creating a gully on the hard ground. When he stopped, there was no longer the slightest bit of aura. A 9th level martial master expert was directly killed by Lu Ming's spear. After sending the 9th level martial master disciple flying, Lu Ming's long spear did not stop at all. He continued to move forward and collided with Zheng Qian, who was attacking. "Now, no one will disturb me. I can deal with you." Lu Ming's calm voice sounded. He took a step forward and his long spear pierced out like lightning. Zheng Qian tried his best to resist. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged more than 10 moves. The more Lu Ming fought, the braver he became. His understanding of the astral fire spear technique became deeper and deeper. Zheng Qian was completely defeated and retreated. Not far away, the young man with a flat nose looked pale. At this time, he suddenly shouted, "Senior brother Zheng, you hold on. I will return to the sect first. I will definitely report to the elders and avenge you." After saying that, he ran away. "Damn it!" Zheng Qian roared. "He does deserve to die. Don't worry, after I deal with you, I will kill him for you." Lu Ming said lightly. Boom. The spear struck Zheng Qian's sword. Zheng Qian retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. After a series of battles, his muscles were trembling non-stop. The web between his thumb and index finger was cracked and blood oozed out. If not for his strong physical body and the fact that he could unleash his true qi without caring about the consequences, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Even so, he was seriously injured. His true qi is too strong. It's unstoppable. Zheng Qian's eyes revealed a look of horror. "Wait a minute, as long as you let me go, I will forget about the matter of you killing so many disciples of my Shifang sword sect this time. How about it? Otherwise, you will definitely not be able to bear the anger of my Shifang sword sect." Zheng Qian showed a look of fear and shouted, "You are still threatening me at this time. What an idiot." Lu Ming said indifferently. The long spear did not stop and smashed at Zheng Qian. Boom, boom, boom. Zheng Qian retreated 7 or 8 steps and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. His injuries were even more serious. "Stop, the treasure. There are treasures in that extinct volcano. As long as you let me go, I can give you half of it." "Yes, half of it." Zheng Qian shouted. "No need, as long as I kill you, everything will be mine. I don't want to play with you anymore. Your junior brother has already run far away. If we continue playing, he might really escape." Lu Ming curled the corner of his mouth and his body suddenly flashed with a red light. Bloodline eruption. He had tested enough and there was no need to hold back. Whoosh. The long spear turned into a bolt of lightning and was much faster than before. Zheng Qian could not block it at all. "No!" Zheng Qian roared. Poof! The long spear directly pierced through his heart. Zheng Qian grabbed the long spear tightly with both hands. His eyes were full of indignation and blood kept coming out of his mouth. He shouted hoarsely, Who are you?" Poof! Lu Ming pulled out the long spear, stomped his feet, and chased after the young man with the flat nose at lightning speed. Then, his voice came from afar. "Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lu Ming." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming's figure disappeared. Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Chapter 93. Lu Ming's figure was like the wind, extremely fast. He had unleashed the dragon snake steps to the extreme. Although it was only a low-grade yellow-level footwork, with the eruption of Lu Ming's powerful vital energy, his speed was still extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he saw the flat-nosed young man. Hearing the wind, the flat-nosed young man turned around and was almost scared out of his wits. How could he be so fast? Could it be that Zheng Qian was killed? He thought that Zheng Qian could at least withstand 100 moves. Don't come over. The flat-nosed young man ran crazily and shouted randomly. However, the distance between Lu Ming and him continued to close. The flat-nosed young man could not escape. Plop! At this moment, the flat-nosed young man suddenly stopped. He turned around and knelt down with a plop. His movements were smooth. Please don't kill me. As long as you let me go, I won't say a word about what happened today." The flat-nosed young man kept kowtowing and shouting. "Why should I believe you?" There was a cold smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. I swear, I won't say a word. If I do, I'll die a horrible death. The flat-nosed young man pointed to the sky and swore. "All right, I'll give you a chance." Lu Ming suddenly sneered coldly and kicked out his leg. Bam! This kick landed on the flat-nosed young man's dantian and scattered his cyclone. "Ah! You destroyed my cultivation. Didn't you say you'll give me a chance?" The flat-nosed young man let out a heart-wrenching scream. "Don't worry, I'll give you a chance." Lu Ming grabbed the flat-nosed young man's neck and walked towards the extinct volcano as if he was carrying a chicken. Soon, they arrived at the place where the battle took place. At this moment, the stone pickers had all fled. What do you want?" the flat-nosed young man asked in a trembling voice. "It's very simple. Go ahead and scout the path. However, you're not allowed to walk on the path that has already been scouted. Go the other way." Lu Ming pointed in the direction of the extinct volcano and said calmly. In an instant, the face of the young man with the flat nose turned pale. His voice trembled as he said, "Hasn't the path to the extinct volcano been explored? Why do you want me to scout the way?" "No, I'm not going. Don't you like to ask others to scout for you? Now, I want you to try it yourself. It's fine if you don't want to go, but I'll send you to reunite with your fellow apprentices." Lu Ming brandished his long spear. Spear light burst forth, and a cold killing intent enveloped the youth. No, you can't do this to me. That place is full of danger. I'll die if I go there. I'm begging you, let me go." The young man with the flat nose was drenched in cold sweat, and his body was trembling. Especially when he recalled how the stone pickers had been burned to death, he shuddered. Earlier, when he watched others explore the path, he took pleasure in their misfortune and was high and mighty. It was as if he was watching ants struggling on their deathbed, and he didn't have the slightest bit of pity. Now that it was his turn, he was more afraid than anyone else. "This is your only chance. My patience is limited. I'll count to 3. After 3 counts, if you don't go, then you don't have to go." Lu Ming's voice was extremely cold. To deal with such a person, what could be more satisfying than giving him a taste of his own medicine? 1, 2. I'll go. When Lu Ming was about to count to 3, the young man with the flat nose finally couldn't take the pressure and shouted. Then, his body trembled as he walked forward step by step. The more he walked forward, the more his body trembled. When he walked for more than 100 meters, a foul stench came out. He was so scared that he wet himself. Whoosh! Suddenly, a stream of gas rushed out from under his feet. The young man with the flat nose was scared out of his wits. He screamed and fell straight to the ground. Lu Ming frowned. When he walked up to take a look, he was instantly speechless. The young man with the flat nose's face was ashen. He didn't have the slightest breath. He was scared to death by a stream of hot gas. Lu Ming shook his head and walked back to collect the spoils of war. These were the disciples of the Shifang sword sect. There must be a lot of valuable things on them. Lu Ming wouldn't miss it. While searching for the spoils of war, he devoured their essence blood one by one. After searching, Lu Ming left and returned to the outer area. Then, he entered the Temple of Paragon and began refining the essence blood. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the Martial Master Realm 8, so the essence blood of martial artists below the Martial Master Realm was of little use to him. Only those above the Martial Master Realm would be of some help. After refining all the essence blood of the disciples of the Shifang sword sect, Lu Ming's cultivation improved, but it wasn't by much. He was still a distance away from the mid-stage Martial Master Realm 8. After refining the essence blood, Lu Ming began to count the spoils of war. With a wave of his hand, 2 storage rings appeared. Among the disciples of the Shifang sword sect, 2 of them had storage rings. It was a pleasant surprise. One was from Zheng Qian, and the other was from the young man in the Martial Master Realm 9. Then, with a thought, a pile of things appeared in the Temple of Paragon. First, Lu Ming began to count the banknotes. Why is there so little? After counting, Lu Ming frowned slightly. The 20 or so disciples of the Shifang sword sect only had about 4 million taels of silver in total. 4 million taels of silver might seem a lot, but it depended on where they got it from. The The disciples of the Shifang sword sect were at least in the martial master realm 6. On average, each of them had less than 200,000 taels of silver. This was considered very little. On second thought, Lu Ming felt relieved. It was normal. Just like him, they exchanged the extra silver for contribution points and then exchanged it for resources that were useful to them to improve their strength. Most of the disciples of the Shifang sword sect were the same. They kept some silver on them and exchanged the rest. After putting away the banknotes, Lu Ming looked at the other things. Some scattered pills were not worth much. Lu Ming directly piled them to the side. Finally, his eyes fell on a few books. Wild Wave Slash, a low-grade yellow rank sword technique. Cloud Treading Steps, a high-grade yellow rank movement technique. Mixed Yuan Art, a high-grade yellow rank cultivation technique. Lu Ming was overjoyed to learn 3 cultivation techniques and martial techniques in a row. Generally speaking, sect disciples like them would rarely have cultivation methods or martial skill manuals on them. This was because cultivation methods or martial skill manuals were usually rented from the sect's book collection hall for cultivation. There was a certain time limit, and when a certain time limit was reached, they would have to return it. Of course, there were exceptions, because some people had some fortuitous encounters and obtained some cultivation techniques or martial skills. These cultivation techniques or martial skills were their own private property. Just like these few, most of them were private property of the disciples of the Shifang sword sect. Among them, the Cloud Treading Steps was obtained from the young man in the Martial Master Realm 9. If these 3 cultivation techniques or martial skills were sold, they would be worth at least 5 to 6 million taels of silver. What a profit! But when Lu Ming's eyes fell on the 4th book, he was shocked. Chapter 94. This was actually a body tempering technique. Presumably, Zheng Qian was cultivating this raging flame Vajra art. Body tempering techniques were extremely rare in the divine wilderness continent. Furthermore, body tempering techniques were known for being difficult to cultivate and slow to cultivate. By cultivating body tempering techniques, one's physical body would constantly become stronger and possess all sorts of incredible abilities. According to the strength of the physical body, it was divided into 9 grades. Grade 1 was the weakest and Grade 9 was the strongest. Each grade was further divided into 3 levels: small success, large success, and perfection. However, the body tempering path was not a single path. It was a type of martial arts that was auxiliary to martial arts. Just like the inscription path, it was auxiliary to martial arts. This was because if the physical body was not combined with martial arts, it would not be able to unleash its full power. Take a Grade 1 physical body for example. It did not correspond to the martial soldier realm. This was because without true energy and various martial skills, the physical body alone was just strength. A Grade 1 physical body was not a match for a martial soldier realm warrior. Even a Grade 2 physical body was not a match for a martial soldier realm warrior. However, this did not mean that the physical body was weak and cultivation was useless. Body tempering was auxiliary to martial arts. Once a strong physical body combined with true energy and various martial skills, it would erupt with unimaginable power. It was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Instead, it would increase exponentially. For example, the stronger the physical body, the more true energy one could unleash without fear of injuring one's body. Some powerful martial skills and even secret techniques were very harmful to the physical body. Without a strong physical body, one would not be able to withstand it. Furthermore, the stronger the physical body, the more incredible abilities one would have. The stronger the physical body, the stronger one's vitality and recovery ability. Even if one was injured, one could recover quickly. It was said that when the physical body was strong to a certain extent, one could control all the muscles and bones in one's body. Even if one was injured, one could instantly seal the wound. One could also control the muscles and bones, change one's body shape and appearance. It was extremely magical. If one was stronger, they could even regenerate broken limbs or even regenerate from a drop of blood. Of course, these were all legends. Therefore, the body tempering path was auxiliary to martial arts. When combined with martial arts, one could erupt with great power. Zheng Qian was a good example. He didn't cultivate any profound grade martial skills, it was just that his physical body was much stronger than Lu Ming's. By relying on a yellow-grade high-grade martial skill, he was able to erupt with strength that was on par with Lu Ming. This was especially true for some close combat martial artists who cultivated palms, fists, and claws. If they combined these skills with a strong physical body, their strength would increase even more. Lu Ming hurriedly opened the Raging Flame Vajra art and read it. After watching it, Lu Ming fell into deep thought. The Raging Flame Vajra secret art can at most allow a person to cultivate a third-grade physical body. It seems that Zheng Qian has only cultivated to the first-grade great perfection, not the second grade. That's enough. If I can cultivate a Tier 3 fleshly body, my strength will increase by at least several times. Lu Ming's eyes gradually lit up. This was not just a saying. When a martial artist cultivated, as their cultivation increased, their true qi would also slowly temper their physical body, causing their physical body to slowly become stronger. However, that process was too slow. It was said that once one reached the martial arts Grandmaster realm, one's physical body would naturally be upgraded to rank 1. However, that simply could not meet the needs of a martial artist. The stronger one's cultivation was, the stronger and more condensed their true qi would be, and the greater the pressure on one's meridians and physical body would be. Therefore, when a martial artist fought, they would subconsciously reserve a portion of their true qi to protect their meridians and physical body. Usually, it was said that one could unleash 100% of one's strength. However, in a real sense, one would not be able to unleash 100% of one's strength. However, only after one's physical body became stronger would one be able to unleash 100% of one's true qi without any worries. This was especially true for Lu Ming. His true qi was too strong and condensed. Therefore, he subconsciously left more true qi to protect his meridians and physical body. Therefore, the Raging Flame Vajra art was more important to Lu Ming than a profound grade martial technique. After carefully studying the cultivation method of the Raging Flame Vajra art, Lu Ming put it down and looked at the 5th and final book. This book was not a cultivation method or a martial technique. It was a notebook. He had found it in Zheng Qian's storage ring. After opening it, Lu Ming skipped over the first few pages that were not important to him. After flipping through a dozen pages, he found a few pages that had been marked. Only then did he see the ones that interested Lu Ming. These were the records of the extinct volcano from before. It turns out that the extinct volcano contains the spiritual fire milk. It is extremely useful for cultivating the Raging Flame Vajra art. It turns out that the treasure that Zheng Qian was looking for was the spiritual fire milk. After reading it, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Originally, the progress of body tempering cultivation method was extremely slow. Lu Ming did not want to cultivate the Raging Flame Vajra art to a high level in a short period of time. However, if he had the spiritual fire milk, it would be different. The Raging Flame Vajra art might be able to reach a certain level in a short period of time. It did not need much. As long as he could cultivate to a first-grade physical body, it would be of great help to Lu Ming's combat strength. Let's go. Since I know about it, I can't miss it. After tidying up his things, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and headed to the central region. He returned to the extinct volcano. Roar! Roar! The demonic beasts roared. 5 or 6 demonic beasts ran away with the corpses of the 10 Direction Sword Sect disciples in their mouths. The smell of blood must have attracted the demonic beasts over. Lu Ming ignored them and went to the path that the 10 Direction Sword Sect disciples had asked the stone pickers to explore. There were marks made with white powder, and the outline of the path was clearly visible. Lu Ming pondered for a moment before he walked forward. He did not walk very quickly. He circulated his true qi and observed the ground with all his might. The terrain in this area was constantly changing. It was fine before, but it did not mean that it would be fine now. Fortunately, there were no accidents along the way. Lu Ming successfully made it through this section of the road. After walking through this path, he arrived at the foot of the extinct volcano. Here, thick black rocks were piled up. They were very stable, and there was no need to worry about lava spewing out. Lu Ming climbed up. The extinct volcano was not tall, only a few hundred meters. Soon, Lu Ming reached the peak. There was a huge hole in the middle of the peak. It was a few hundred meters deep, and there were pitch-black crystals at the bottom. According to the ancient records of the Zheng family, the fire spirit milk was at the bottom of the volcano. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming slowly climbed down along the surrounding walls. Soon, he reached the bottom of the extinct volcano. The black crystals below were extremely hard, and there was a deep hole in the wall of the extinct volcano. In the hole, Lu Ming immediately saw a stalk of spiritual grass. This stalk of spiritual grass was fiery red and gave off a sparkling glow. Flame crystal grass. Seeing this stalk of spiritual grass, Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was one of the materials needed to cultivate the third level of the true battle dragon art. Lu Ming had come to the Lingnan Fire region to see if he could find the flame crystal grass. Chapter 95. Not only that, Lu Ming walked closer to take a look. There was a pool of liquid at the root of the flame crystal grass. It wasn't much, but it was fiery red. It looked like it was formed by melting fire jade. Fire spirit milk, this is the fire spirit milk. Lu Ming was overjoyed. There was indeed fire spirit milk here. No wonder the flame crystal grass could grow here. Fire spirit milk was a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It could only be formed in places with extremely rich fire attribute spiritual energy. It contained rich fire attribute essence. Lu Ming stepped forward and moved his hand. A jade box and a jade bottle appeared. The jade box was made of ordinary white jade. Lu Ming had prepared it himself to store the spirit grass. The jade bottle was found in Zheng Qian's storage ring. It was made of fire jade and was suitable for storing the fire spirit milk. He took out a sword and carefully dug out the flame crystal grass and put it into the jade box. Then, he circulated his true qi and sucked the fire spirit milk into the jade bottle. It's quite a lot, at least 2 jin. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He thought that 1 jin would be a great opportunity. He didn't expect it to be 2 jin. If I refine all this fire spirit milk, how strong will my physical body be? I can at least cultivate to grade 1 upper realm, right? Lu Ming thought to himself. He kept the things and walked up the stone wall without stopping. Along the way, he didn't encounter any threats. Soon, Lu Ming walked out of the central region and returned to the outer region. After returning to the outer region, Lu Ming went straight into the Temple of Paragon. Sitting cross-legged, Lu Ming took out the Raging Flame Vajra art and read it carefully. Then, he took out the jade bottle containing the fire spirit milk. Now, I'll use the fire spirit milk to cultivate the Raging Flame Vajra art. Lu Ming opened the bottle cap and thought for a moment. Then, he took a small sip. Boom. After swallowing a small mouthful of the fire spirit milk, it was like a volcanic eruption. It emitted a hot aura and violent energy that filled Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body was like a fireball. Nest, the energy of this fire spirit milk is too terrifying. It's beyond my imagination. It's so hot and painful. The fire spirit elixir's energy was incomparably hot, burning Lu Ming's muscles and bones. This situation was like putting Lu Ming directly into a roasting fire. One could imagine how painful it would be. I must endure it. The reason why it hurts so much is because my body is too weak. I have never cultivated the Tao of body refinement before. I have only used my Zhen Qi to slowly refine my body. After the first time, my body will improve, and the next time, it won't hurt so much. Lu Ming's mind raced. He gritted his teeth and activated the Raging Flame Vajra method, starting to absorb and refine the scorching energy. Sizzle. It was as if his fleshly body was a piece of iron that was being burned and forged in a raging flame. Lu Ming could even hear the sizzling sound of his fleshly body being burned. This process lasted for a full 2 hours before the energy of the elixir of fire was completely refined. At this moment, the pain completely disappeared, and an extremely comfortable feeling spread throughout his body. My physical strength has indeed improved a lot. Lu Ming carefully felt the changes in his body. he found that although his body had not become much stronger, his muscles had become much firmer, and his entire body was filled with strength. The chi and blood in his veins were surging, full of vitality, and his body functions were stronger than before. The Raging Flame Vaja method and the Fire Spirit Elixir are a perfect match. I have only refined a small mouthful, and there is such an improvement. Although I have not reached the level of a first-grade body, I believe that I will reach it soon. Now, continue. Then, Lu Ming swallowed a small mouthful of Fire Spirit Elixir and continued to cultivate the Raging Flame Vaja method. Just like before, when the Fire Spirit Elixir entered his body, it erupted with an intense fire attribute essence that was incomparably hot. I wonder if the Devouring Spirit bloodline is useful for the Fire Spirit Elixir? Lu Ming's heart suddenly moved. Before his bloodline was completely reborn, he could quickly refine the power of the pill. Then, could he quickly refine the power of the Fire Spirit Elixir now? He would know after trying. Immediately, Lu Ming controlled his bloodline, and a powerful devouring force was produced from his spine. Hoo-hoo, suddenly, all the energy of the Fire Spirit Elixir in his body was absorbed by his bloodline. Not long after, a gentle and pure energy flowed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming circulated the Raging Flame Vaja method and absorbed all the energy into his body, using it to increase the strength of his body. It was different from devouring blood essence. The bloodline itself would cut off half of the energy to strengthen the bloodline itself, and only half of the essence would enter Lu Ming's body. The Fire Spirit Elixir was different. All the energy would enter Lu Ming's body. Under the circulation of the Raging Flame Vaja method, Lu Ming's body strength was rapidly increasing. In just 10 minutes, the small mouthful of Fire Spirit Elixir had been completely refined, and he felt that his body had become stronger. Moreover, he did not feel the slightest pain. If I had known earlier, I would have controlled my bloodline from the first mouthful. I wouldn't have had to suffer so much. Lu Ming regretted it. After resting for a while, he continued to refine the Fire Spirit Elixir. A day later, the Fire Spirit Elixir had been refined. Lu Ming's body had broken through and reached the first-grade physical body, which was at the small success stage. Boom! Lu Ming circulated the true dragon fighting art. Dragon-shaped genuine qi was like a river, surging unscrupulously in Lu Ming's meridians. Boom! Genuine qi was attached to his fist, and he punched out. His fist passed through the air, forming a sonic boom, and a transparent airwave rushed out far away. Strong, my physical fitness is more than 10 times stronger than before. Whether it is my muscles, bones, tendons, or internal organs, they have all improved by many times. Last time, when he was besieged by Yao Tianyu and his men, he was seriously injured and took 7 to 8 days to recover. But now, Lu Ming believed that he would be fully recovered in 3 days. This was the benefit of a strong physical body. Moreover, the combination of Lu Ming's physical body and cultivation had increased his combat strength. Of course, if Lu Ming did not use his true qi or martial arts techniques, he could easily defeat a martial artist at the 3rd level of martial warrior with his physical body. The Tao of the physical body was not used for fighting, but to support the martial path. I can't just focus on refining the Fire Spirit Elixir to improve my physical body. Otherwise, I won't be able to adapt quickly. I should go out and practice my spear art to improve my physical body and martial path. When my physical body, genuine qi, and martial techniques are perfectly integrated, I will continue to cultivate my physical body. Lu Ming immediately left the Temple of Paragon and returned to the central region to practice the astral flame spear art. Just like that, Lu Ming practiced his spear art for a few days and refined some Fire Spirit Elixir. As time passed, Lu Ming's spear art and physical body improved rapidly. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 days had passed. On the 23rd day, Lu Ming refined the 2 kilograms of Fire Spirit Elixir, and Lu Ming's physical body improved like a rocket. He skipped Greater Grade 1, Greater Grade 1, Greater Grade 1, and reached Lesser Grade 2. Chapter 96. Compared to the substantial improvement of his physical body, the improvement of the astral fire spear art was slower. He was still a step away from reaching the 3rd level. After all, it was a black level martial skill. The difficulty of cultivating it was many times higher than a yellow-level martial skill. As for Lu Ming's cultivation, it did not increase by much. These days, he did not deliberately kill demonic beasts and devour their blood essence. Therefore, his cultivation had only reached the peak of the early 8th level of the martial master realm. He was still a step away from the middle 8th level of the martial master realm. Lu Ming practiced his spear in the middle of the Lingnan fire domain. He waved his spear like a dragon dancing in the air, bringing about bursts of explosive sounds. Within a radius of 10 meters, it was as if a hurricane was blowing. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming felt that he was very close to the 3rd level, but he was still a little bit away. It was like a layer of paper that could not be broken. Lu Ming's mind sank into the astral fire spear art, searching for the aura of a breakthrough with all his might. Rumble. Right at this moment, a muffled rumble sounded. Lu Ming was shocked and stopped cultivating. Rumble. The rumbling continued, even more intense than before. Moreover, even the ground began to tremble slightly. Roar. Roar. The roars of the demonic beasts could be heard. Afterward, Lu Ming saw many demonic beasts running away desperately, as if they had encountered something terrifying. Rumble. The trembling became louder and the ground began to shake violently. Not good. Could it be a volcanic eruption? Let's go. Lu Ming's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Then, he turned around and ran outside in shock. Along the way, he saw at least a few hundred demonic beasts running from the depths to the periphery. 10 minutes later, Lu Ming ran to the periphery and stopped to look at the inner area. Boom. At this moment, an earth-shattering rumble sounded and the ground shook violently. Then, Lu Ming saw an unforgettable scene. A fiery red pillar of fire rushed out from a mountain peak like a fire dragon, as if it was about to soar into the sky. The pillar of fire rushed into the sky and then dispersed like extremely gorgeous fireworks. Thick smoke billowed and pillars of fire soared into the sky, illuminating the horizon red. Is this the power of a volcanic eruption? It was simply too powerful. When they gathered together and exploded, their power could break through the heavens and earth. This kind of power was simply too shocking. Was this the power of nature? Can human strength contend against it? Lu Ming stared blankly at the volcanic eruption in the distance. Fire. Gather. Erupt. Might. Lu Ming seemed to be in a trance. His eyes stared straight at the volcano in front of him as he muttered to himself. Following that, he involuntarily took a step forward and headed toward the central region. Boom. Boom. The volcano seemed to have accumulated too much energy, causing it to erupt continuously. Fiery red magma continued to erupt. The more Lu Ming walked towards the central region, the clearer he could see it. The might also became clearer. When Lu Ming reached the central region, he involuntarily brandished his long spear and practiced the astral fire spear technique. Flames, magma eruption, explode. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He remembered the 6th move of the astral fire spear technique. The 6th move was called Explode. This move was extremely powerful, but he had never succeeded in practicing it. At this moment, he suddenly understood. Swish. The long spear suddenly pierced the ground. At the same time, the true chi in his body madly gathered at the tip of the spear. When the long spear pierced the ground, all the true chi suddenly erupted. Boom. The ground directly exploded, creating a large pit that was more than 2 meters in length and width and 1 meter in depth. What a strong power! Is this the explode? Moreover, the astral fire spear technique has finally reached the 3rd level. Lu Ming's face revealed a happy smile. Just now, not only did he successfully use the explode, but the astral fire spear technique had also reached the 3rd level. It's just that the consumption of true chi for this move is too terrifying. Lu Ming smiled helplessly. Just now, he had used up a third of his true chi when he had used the explosion move. It seemed that this move could not be used often and could only be used as a trump card. Then, Lu Ming began to practice the astral fire spear technique again, but in less than 2 minutes, he stopped. No, it doesn't feel right. Compared to the volcano, I only comprehended the form, but not the soul, not the power. Lu Ming frowned and thought. Rumble. The volcano was still erupting, and there was a terrifying power. Just looking at it, there was a kind of fear. Yes, this power, I don't have this kind of power. Lu Ming's mind kept thinking, his eyes staring at the erupting volcano in the distance, as if he was stunned. After an unknown period of time, the eruption stopped, but he still stood there thinking. In his mind, there seemed to be a volcano that was constantly erupting. Unconsciously, the long spear in Lu Ming's hand began to dance, following the moves of the astral fire spear technique. The spear whistled, the long spear broke through the air. Lu Ming tirelessly practiced. Suddenly, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, the power of the volcano, the power of fire, is power. Boom. Lu Ming suddenly thrust out his spear. This spear was just an ordinary spear, not any move of the astral fire spear technique, but there was a mysterious power contained in it. Boom. This move stabbed the ground, and the ground suddenly exploded. Gravel splashed, and a big pit appeared. This big pit was no smaller than the one made by the explosion move. Power. This is power, the power of fire. Lu Ming's eyes were bright, and the joy in his heart was uncontrollable. This time, watching the eruption of the volcano, his harvest was too great. Not only did he have a breakthrough in the astral fire spear technique, but now he actually comprehended power. Everything in the world had power. Mountains had the power of mountains, majestic and magnificent. Water had the power of water, could stormy waves, and could also nurture vitality. Wind also had the power of wind, unstoppable and formless. Fire, of course, also had the power of fire, scorching and violent, destroying the world. Everything in the world had power. If a martial artist could comprehend and use it, they could erupt with incredible power. Just now, Lu Ming just casually thrust out his spear, and the power was actually comparable to the explosion move. Then, what if he added force when he used the explosion technique? How powerful would it be? Lu Ming was incomparably excited. He never thought that he could actually comprehend power, the power of fire. Not everyone could comprehend power. Only a small number of extremely talented geniuses could comprehend power. The number was shockingly small. Chapter 97. After that, Lu Ming continued to cultivate. 3 days later, Lu Ming stopped. I've completely grasped the power of fire, but my mastery is still very low. I've just started and need to constantly cultivate and comprehend it. Now, it's time to go back. I've already been in the Lingnan fire domain for more than 40 days. There's less than a month left before the 4-month deadline. I can't go back on my word. This time, I'll definitely get on it. Yarrow Tianyu, just you wait. Out of habit, Lu Ming searched around and caught a demonic beast. Riding on it, he quickly headed back to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. 5 days later, Lu Ming returned to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Senior brother Lu Ming, you're back. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he bumped into Pang Shi and Hua Kai walking out together. When Pang Shi saw Lu Ming, he revealed a happy smile. Big Stone, where are you going? Lu Ming asked curiously. Senior brother Lu Ming, you're back at the right time. There's going to be a show to watch. Feng Xinglie of the Xuanwu Academy is going to fight his 10th battle on the bronze platform today. If he wins this battle, there will be one more person on the bronze list. Pang Shi said excitedly. Feng Xinglie? Who's Feng Xinglie? Lu Ming was puzzled. No way. Lu Ming, you don't even know Feng Xinglie? Hua Kai looked at Lu Ming with disdain. Lu Ming smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose and nodded. All right, I've lost to you. Hua Kai curled his lips speechlessly and said, Feng Xinglie is the newcomer king from a year ago. You haven't heard of him? The newcomer king from a year ago? Lu Ming's interest was immediately piqued. That's right, it's the newcomer king from a year ago. Therefore, this battle is very meaningful. It's the first batch of disciples from last year and this year's batch. The others haven't matured yet, so it attracted a lot of attention. Hua Kai explained. After what happened last time, Hua Kai's attitude towards him had completely changed. He no longer had a sour face all day long and said that he would defeat him in the future. Interesting. Let's go together. Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. How strong was the Rookie King from a year ago? Moreover, he was going to the bronze platform anyway. Immediately, the three of them rushed towards the bronze platform. The bronze platform was located in the middle of the four great academies. It was a battle platform. Huge spectator stands were built in all four directions of the bronze platform, enough to accommodate 100,000 people. When Lu Ming and the others arrived, the spectator stands around the bronze platform were already packed with people. At a rough estimate, there were at least tens of thousands of people. It's so lively. There are actually so many people here. Pang Shi widened his eyes and looked around. Lu Ming was also secretly amazed. The total number of bronze-level disciples in the four great academies was only slightly more than 50,000. This time around, no less than 30,000 people had come. It could be seen how sensational it was. Other than those who were out on missions or in seclusion, most of those who heard the news came. The three of them found a seat and sat down. Sounds of discussion came from all around. Do you think Feng Xinglie will succeed this time? His opponent is also a fierce person with a 9-win streak. In my opinion, Feng Xinglie will definitely win. Feng Xinglie was last year's Rookie King. His talent is terrifyingly high. As the first disciple in the last 2 batches to enter the bronze list, he must have full confidence. I also think Feng Xinglie will win. Didn't you see him yesterday? He won all 9 matches in a row. His battle strength is terrifyingly strong. I don't think he even used his full strength. Winning 10 matches in a row is definitely not a problem. What I'm more concerned about is whether Feng Xinglie will continue to challenge after his victory. Continue to challenge? Then he will have to challenge the geniuses on the bronze list. If that's the case, then there will be a lot to see today. Not only this area, but around the bronze platform, there were similar discussions. Feng Xinglie, as the first disciple in the last 2 batches to enter the bronze list, naturally attracted a lot of attention. Previously, the people on the bronze list were all geniuses who joined the Mystic Essence Sword sect 2 years ago. For example, Yaro Tianyu joined 2 years ago. Feng Xinglie is here. Suddenly, someone shouted. Then, the whole place quieted down. At the north entrance of the bronze platform, a young man in a yellow shirt walked over step by step. The young man looked ordinary, but he was very young. He seemed to be only 16 or 17 years old. He carried a long sword on his back and slowly walked up to the bronze platform. Then, he stood there quietly. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked up to the bronze platform. This middle-aged man was the elder in charge of managing and hosting the bronze platform. He was also the judge. He would sort out the situation on the bronze platform and report it to the sect. Feng Xinglie, your opponent today is Sun Guang. Sun Guang, please come up to the platform. The middle-aged judge announced loudly. His voice spread throughout the whole place. Shush. As soon as the judge finished his words, a sound broke through the air. An 18 or 19-year-old young man leaped a few times. His body was as fast as lightning. He was even faster than Lu Ming's dragon snake steps. He reached the bronze platform in a flash, displaying an extremely advanced body art. So fast. If I were to fight with this kind of body art, I wouldn't even be able to react in time. Many people sighed. Sun Guang jumped onto the bronze platform and faced Feng Xinglie. Feng Xinglie, I didn't expect it to be a battle between the two of us. Haha, that's good too. As long as I win against you, I will be able to enter the bronze list. Although you were the new king a year ago and have extraordinary talent, you are still too young. It's still too early to fight with me. Sun Guang laughed loudly. Someone said the same thing yesterday, but he couldn't even block one of my attacks. A faint voice came out from Feng Xinglie's mouth. He seemed to be very confident. Sun Guang's face suddenly darkened. I believe everyone knows the rules of the bronze platform. But here, I will repeat the rules. On the bronze platform, you are responsible for your own life and death. However, if one of you takes the initiative to admit defeat, the battle will end. The other person is not allowed to continue attacking. Violators will have their scores revoked. Also, other than the fact that you are not allowed to use pills to increase your battle strength, you are allowed to use any other methods. Now, let the battle begin. The middle-aged judge announced loudly and stepped aside. Shush. As soon as the middle-aged judge finished his words, Sun Guang's body flashed and rushed towards Feng Xinglie. His speed was much faster than when he was on the platform. Lunar Shadow Diffraction Sword, slash. When he was 10 meters away from Feng Xinglie, Sun Guang leaped high into the air and swung his long sword. Streaks of fine, crescent-like sword chi slashed towards Feng Xinglie. Such a powerful sword art. This is definitely the 6th level of a superior yellow rank martial skill. Someone near Lu Ming couldn't help but cheer. Lu Ming's gaze flickered slightly. He could tell that Sun Guang had not only cultivated his superior yellow-level swordplay to the 6th level, but his movement technique was also at the 6th level of superior yellow level. Moreover, his cultivation was also at the peak of the 9th level of the martial master realm. In addition to the bloodline eruption, his battle strength was very strong. Chapter 98. Kang. At this moment, Feng Xinglie moved. With a sword chime, he unsheathed his sword. Not many people saw how he unsheathed his sword. Most of them only heard a sword chime and saw a white sword light flash in the air. Soon after, the crowd saw Sun Guang's dense sword chi disappear without a trace. Then, Sun Guang groaned as his body flew far away and fell on the fighting stage. What happened? Many people looked at each other. They didn't know what had happened because it happened too fast. Many people only saw Sun Guang attack, then saw a sword light flash and Sun Guang was sent flying. What happened? Did Sun Guang lose? On the side, Pang Shi was tongue-tied. Hua Kai was also confused. Yes, Sun Guang lost. He was defeated by Feng Xinglie's sword. Look at Sun Guang's chest, there is a wound. Lu Ming answered. Lu Ming and the people beside him quickly looked and saw a deep sword wound on Sun Guang's chest. Blood kept flowing out. Others didn't see it clearly, but Lu Ming saw it clearly. Just now, Feng Xinglie unsheathed his sword and defeated all of Sun Guang's attacks, leaving a deep wound on Sun Guang's chest. Such a fast sword, such a strong attack. Lu Ming's eyes shone with surprise. He concluded that Feng Xinglie's sword art was definitely a low profound level martial skill. On the stage, Sun Guang struggled to get up. His face was still filled with shock. He cupped his fist and said, "I lost. Thank you for showing mercy." He knew that if Feng Xinglie didn't withdraw some of his power, he would have been dead. "Thank you." Feng Xinglie cupped his fist. Sun Guang didn't say anything. He turned around and left the stage, disappearing without a trace. Since he lost, his previous records would be cancelled and he would have to start from scratch. At this moment, the middle-aged judge stepped forward and announced, "This battle, Feng Xinglie wins and enters the bronze list." Following the judge's announcement, the crowd was in an uproar. Success. Feng Xinglie has succeeded. As a new disciple in the last 2 years, he is the first to succeed in breaking into the bronze list. He is the representative of the new disciples in the last 2 years. Amazing. Feng Xinglie is too amazing. It hasn't even been 2 years since he entered the sect, and is already on the bronze list. He really is the king of newcomers. Other than him, the others who entered the sect in the past 2 years would need at least another half a year to have a chance of entering the bronze list. Not bad. Among the previous newcomer kings, Feng Xinglie is one of the strongest. Do you think he will continue to challenge? I really hope he continues to challenge. Did you see that more than half of the geniuses ranked 30 and below on the bronze list are here? Exclamations of admiration filled the air. Beside Lu Ming, Pang Shi was also excited. One day, I will also be able to enter the bronze ranking. Hua Kai clenched his fists and said confidently. Love-struck fool, I believe you can do it. You and senior brother Lu are both fine. I don't know if I'll have a chance in this lifetime. Pang Shi said longingly. Lu Ming patted Pang Shi's shoulder and said with a smile, Big Shi, you're working so hard. I'm sure you can do it. When Pang Shi first entered the sect, he was a martial warrior 9th layer. After half a year of cultivation, he had broken through to the peak of martial master 1st layer. Although his cultivation speed was not fast, he took it one step at a time. His foundation was very solid. On the fighting stage, the middle-aged judge asked, Feng Xinglie, you're currently ranked 57 on the bronze list. You have the qualifications to challenge the geniuses on the bronze list. Do you still want to challenge? At this moment, everyone's gaze was focused on Feng Xinglie. They were all curious. Would he continue to challenge? Feng Xinglie did not answer. He seemed to be thinking. If Feng Xinglie continues to challenge, who do you think he will challenge? It's hard to say, but he will definitely challenge those ranked 45 and below because they are in the same class. That's right. If he wants to fight today, he can only challenge the geniuses on the bronze list. Look, Duanmu Hu, ranked 55, Yaro Tianyu, ranked 51, Yang Shu, ranked 50, and Jidong, ranked 48. They are all here. He is most likely to challenge them. Discussions and guesses could be heard from all around. Yao Tianyu? Lu Ming's eyes moved. He followed the crowd's gaze and saw Yao Tianyu on the east side of the stands. Yao Tianyu crossed his arms and sat there calmly, calm and composed. Beside him, there were a dozen small fries. Like He Tai and the red-robed young man, they were all familiar faces. Senior brother Yao, do you think Feng Xinglie will challenge you? A young man asked. I don't know. Yao Tianyu replied indifferently. Then, what if Feng Xinglie challenges senior brother Yao? Are you confident? The young man asked again. Feng Xinglie's returning sword is powerful, but it's not enough to challenge me. Yao Tianyu replied confidently. Of course. How can Feng Xinglie be senior brother Yao's opponent? If he overestimates himself and challenges senior brother Yao, then he is looking for trouble. The red-robed young man immediately flattered Yao Tianyu. Yao Tianyu smiled and looked down at the fighting stage. On the fighting stage, Feng Xinglie thought for a while and replied, I choose to continue the challenge. As soon as he said that, the atmosphere became heated. Everyone stared at Feng Xinglie, waiting to see who he would challenge. Feng Xinglie scanned the stands and then looked at the west side of the stands. Duanmu Hu, come down and fight me, Feng Xinglie said loudly. On the west side of the stands, a muscular young man stood up with a gloomy face and said, Feng Xinglie, are you sure you want to challenge me? Of course. Feng Xinglie arrived. Haha, good. Feng Xinglie, I will make you regret your choice. Duanmu Hu laughed angrily. Being challenged by someone who had just entered the bronze list was not something to be proud of. On the contrary, it was a shameful thing. It was simple. If you were challenged, it meant you were weak and looked down upon. Swoosh, Duanmu Hu jumped down from the spectator stand. With a few leaps, he covered a distance of more than 100 meters and arrived at the fighting ring. His speed was not any slower than Sun Guang's. The two stood facing each other. I didn't expect Feng Xinglie to challenge Duanmu Hu. This is going to be interesting. Not far from Lu Ming, a disciple in his 20s said. Oh, how is it interesting? The others asked. Even Lu Ming, Pang Shi, and the others looked at him. This disciple felt proud of himself when he saw that he had attracted so many people. He coughed dryly and said, you guys should have seen it. Feng Xinglie's sword art is very fast, and the explosive power is extremely strong. This sword art is a low-grade profound martial skill, returning sword. This sword art is very powerful, but it has a weakness. It consumes a lot of true qi. If you can't defeat your opponent with one strike, you will be in danger. Chapter 99. The senior disciple continued to explain, however, Duanmu Hu's martial skill is the opposite of Feng Xinglie's. Duanmu Hu's martial skill is a defensive low-grade profound martial skill, Heavenly Tiger protective art. One is for defense and the other is for offense. Isn't this interesting? Everyone was enlightened. Feng Xinglie and Duanmu Hu were like a spear and a shield. In this battle, it would depend on whether Feng Xinglie's spear attack or Duanmu Hu's shield defense was stronger. Whoever was stronger would win. This situation was not limited to this area. It was happening everywhere. Many senior disciples who had been in the sect for 5 or 8 years might not have a high cultivation, but they had sharp eyes and knew a lot of information. Many people knew the martial skills that the two of them were good at, and they became more interested. Now, let the battle begin, the referee announced and stepped aside. Boom! Boom! Instantly, Feng Xinglie and Duanmu who exploded with powerful auras. The auras collided in the air. At this moment, Feng Xinglie moved. He unsheathed his long sword, and the sword light was like a flash of lightning, piercing through the air and stabbing towards Duanmu Hu. Returning sword. This sword was even stronger than the previous one, because Feng Xinglie had activated his bloodline. 6 chakras, level 6 bloodline. This was the first time Lu Ming saw a level 6 bloodline warrior. This sword was incomparably breathtaking. Everyone's eyes were fixed on this sword. Boom! Duanmu Hu took a step forward, and a tiger's roar was heard. 2 tigers formed by genuine qi appeared around him. 2 ferocious tigers roared as they leaped around Duanmu Hu, surrounding him so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Feng Xinglie, let's see how you break my defense. Duanmu Hu roared. In an instant, Feng Xinglie's long sword stabbed Duanmu Hu. Roar! The 2 tigers roared and blocked in front of Duanmu Hu. They collided with Feng Xinglie's long sword. At the place where the long sword and the tigers collided, a dazzling light shone. However, everyone was staring at the fighting ring, not daring to look away. They were afraid that they would miss the exciting moment. This was definitely a battle that would decide the winner in one move. If Feng Xinglie could break Duanmu Hu's defense, then he would win. Otherwise, Duanmu Hu would win. Could Feng Xinglie break Duanmu Hu's defense? Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion as Feng Xinglie and Duanmu Hu's bodies crossed each other. Who won? Bang! Suddenly, Duanmu Hu fell to his knees and spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone saw that there was a deep wound on his chest, just like Sun Guang's wound. I lost. Duanmu Hu stood up and left without looking back. Duanmu Hu was defeated, and the whole place was in an uproar. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Although it's only one move, it's a battle between the peak of offense and defense. Not bad, today's trip wasn't in vain. Do you guys think Feng Xinglie will continue to challenge? That shouldn't be the case. His bloodline has already erupted, and he won't be able to recover in a short period of time. That's true. At that moment, the judge announced Feng Xinglie's victory. Feng Xinglie slowly walked down the stage under the admiring gazes of the audience. Amazing, too amazing. Senior brother Lu Ming, love-struck fool, let's go back. I must cultivate even harder and strive to enter the bronze list in the future, Pang Shi said with a resolute expression. Go back. The battle hasn't ended. Why should we go back? Lu Ming smiled faintly. The battle hasn't ended. Pang Shi and Hua Kai were not the only ones beside Lu Ming. Everyone else was stunned. Yes, it hasn't ended. Why would Lu Ming say that it hasn't ended? Feng Xinglie's battle has ended, but my battle has just begun. Lu Ming smiled. He then got up and leaped toward the fighting ring below. After a few breaths, Lu Ming stepped onto the bronze platform. What? What is senior brother Lu Ming doing? Pang Shi said in a daze. The others beside him were also stunned. It seems like Lu Ming wants to challenge the bronze platform today. At that moment, Hua Kai's eyes were extremely bright, and at the same time, they were filled with shock. What? Senior brother Lu Ming wants to challenge the bronze platform? Pang Shi was extremely shocked. The others nearby were also shocked. The disciples around the bronze platform were about to leave when they suddenly saw a figure fly onto the platform. They couldn't help but be stunned. Who is that? What is he doing on the bronze platform? Hey, isn't that Lu Ming? This year's newcomer king, Lu Ming, so he is Lu Ming. What is he trying to do? Is he going to challenge the bronze platform? That's impossible. Even if he is the newcomer king, he is only this year's newcomer king. It's still too early for him to challenge the bronze platform. That's right. There was a burst of discussion around, but those who were about to leave sat down again. On the fighting stage, the middle-aged judge and Feng Xinglie, who had already walked to the side of the stage, stopped. Lu Ming, what are you doing on the stage? The middle-aged judge asked with a smile. Elder, Lu Ming requests to challenge the bronze platform. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. The moment these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Nestle, he really wants to challenge the bronze platform. He's too arrogant and too impatient. Lu Ming is only this year's newcomer king, and he wants to challenge the bronze platform? Too impatient. He's just a child. In my opinion, he saw Feng Xinglie's consecutive victories and rushed up in envy. If he challenges now, there's almost no chance of him succeeding. That's not necessarily true. I heard that 3 months ago, when he destroyed the Star Moon Pavilion, he displayed battle strength that was not weaker than a martial master realm 9th realm martial artist. So what? What's the use of a martial master realm 9th realm martial artist on the bronze platform? Who on the bronze platform is weaker than a martial master realm 9th realm martial artist? I admit Lu Ming's talent, but he just entered the sect this year. If he had another year, I won't deny that he could be like Feng Xinglie and enter the bronze list. But now, it's almost impossible. If you want to challenge the bronze platform, you can't rely on cultivation alone. Cultivation can be improved quickly if you have some kind of treasure. However, martial skills, secret techniques, etc., require time to comprehend them. Those on the bronze list who can cultivate profound level martial skills, which one of them isn't talented and spent a lot of time to comprehend them? Maybe he just wants to win a few matches in a row. Win a few matches in a row. He's the newcomer king, not an ordinary disciple. If he only wins a few matches in a row, then he might as well not go up the stage and embarrass himself. That's true. The crowd was in an uproar, but the discussion was almost one-sided. They all thought that Lu Ming was too impulsive and should not challenge now. He should be like Feng Xinglie and wait until his battle strength reached a certain level before exploding out and shocking the world. In the southern stands, Pang Shuo and the others were still in a daze. Hua Kai, you. How many matches do you think senior brother Lu Ming can win? Can he enter the bronze list? Pang Shuo asked in a daze. Lu Ming, I can't see through him anymore. But he's not an impulsive person. Since his going up, he must have some confidence. Hua Kai said. Although he said so, Hua Kai's eyes were still filled with shock. That's true, I also believe in senior brother Lu Ming. Pang Shuo scratched his head. Chapter 100. Eastern Grandstand. Lu Ming, it's that bastard Lu Ming. He's really overestimating himself to challenge the bronze platform. The red-robed youth beside Yao Tianyu shouted. He's really overestimating himself. But that's good. We can send someone to kill him. Senior brother Yao, what do you think? Another youth said coldly as he looked at Yao Tianyu. Yao Tianyu looked at Lu Ming with a murderous glint in his eyes. Sure. He had been looking for a chance to kill Lu Ming. Since Lu Ming had come to the bronze platform, he would not let go of this opportunity. In the other grandstands, some of the geniuses on the bronze list were also looking at Lu Ming curiously. On the bronze platform. Lu Ming, are you really going to challenge the bronze platform? The middle-aged judge asked in surprise. That's right. Lu Ming nodded again. All right, since you've decided, I won't stop you. Let the challenge begin. The middle-aged judge announced straightforwardly. At the side of the fighting ring, Feng Xinglie looked at Lu Ming curiously. There was a glint in his eyes. He then moved and flew to the spectator stand in the north, watching with great interest. At this moment, the judge had already announced the challenge. The crowd quieted down and watched seriously. Just a moment ago, the previous newcomer king had successfully made it to the bronze list. Immediately, this year's newcomer king began his challenge. Thinking about it, it was really interesting. This had never happened in the history of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. How far could Lu Ming go? Many people were curious about this. Who's going to fight me first? Lu Ming looked around and said in a clear voice. The first 5 rounds on the bronze platform were relatively casual. Anyone could challenge them. But after the 5th round, people with similar winning streaks would have to fight each other. Otherwise, they would not be able to display their strength. Those below the 9th level of the Martial Master realm were silent. Although they felt that Lu Ming would not be able to win many rounds, Lu Ming's strength was still there. A few months ago, he was already comparable to a 9th level Martial Master. "I'll fight you." A figure quickly jumped onto the fighting ring. It's Duanmu Jinming from the White Tiger Hall. It's said that his cultivation has already reached the mid-9th layer Martial Master. As soon as this person stepped onto the stage, cheers could be heard from all around. Duanmu Jinming was about 20 years old. His face was pale, and his eyes were sinister. He stared at Lu Ming and sneered, "Lu Ming, you really don't know how to be patient. You actually came to challenge the bronze platform. Haha, I'll make you stop in the 1st round." The newcomer king has challenged the bronze platform, and stopped in the 1st round. This matter will definitely create a new record in the Mystic Essence Sword sect, and go down in history. Duanmu Jinming's tone was filled with mockery. "As expected, your Duanmu family is the first to run up here. However, I noticed that your Duanmu family has one thing in common. You guys don't have the slightest bit of ability, but you guys are very good at boasting." Lu Ming said indifferently. The moment these words were spoken, the people from the Duanmu clan were instantly enraged. Damn it! Damn it! He actually dares to look down on my Duanmu clan. Duanmu Jinming, be ruthless and cripple him. Let him know the power of my Duanmu clan. Cripple him. Duanmu Jinming's eyes were incomparably gloomy as he said coldly, "Lu Ming, you will pay a painful price for your words." Duanmu Jinming unsheathed his sword, and a white sword radiance shot out from his sword. It was incomparably sharp. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a huge sword that was 1.5 meters long appeared in his hand. This huge sword was left behind by Zhang Qian. There was no need to use the flame pattern spear to deal with such a small fry. Moreover, Lu Ming also wanted to see if he could unleash the power of the flowing light sword art with such a huge sword after his physical body had improved. Alright, I don't need to say more about the rules. Let the battle begin. The middle-aged judge announced. Hurry up and make your move. I don't have that much time. There are still more than 10 battles. Lu Ming said indifferently. His tone was filled with disdain, as if he did not put Duanmu Jinming in his eyes at all. Moreover, he said that there were more than 10 battles later, as if he could really win 10 battles in a row. Nest, how arrogant. Isn't that so? He's too arrogant. However, the more arrogant he is, the one who will be humiliated when he is defeated later. There were discussions all around. Damn it. See if I don't cripple you. Duanmu Jinming roared angrily. He moved his body and continued to charge toward Lu Ming. Ferocious tiger sword art. Duanmu Jinming roared and slashed out with his battle sword. There was a faint shadow of a ferocious tiger on the battle sword. It was incomparably powerful as it slashed towards Lu Ming. Middle stage Martial Master realm. Is that all you have? Lu Ming curled the corner of his mouth and slashed out with his sword. This sword was very direct. It was not any sword art, but a casual slash. It was completely brute force. Clang. This sword slashed directly on Duanmu Jinming's battle sword. Then, everyone saw that Duanmu Jinming's battle sword was bent out of shape and the sword body heavily hit Duanmu Jinming's chest. Duanmu Jinming's eyes instantly popped out. Boom. With a loud boom, Duanmu Jinming's body flew back like a cannonball. He flew for more than 20 meters and then slid on the fighting stage for more than 10 meters before falling off the fighting stage. The whole place suddenly fell into a dead silence. The atmosphere seemed to have frozen at this moment. In fact, many people were still loudly criticizing Lu Ming for his arrogance. However, at this moment, their expressions froze. One sword, only one sword, an ordinary sword, directly blasted Duanmu Jinming out of the fighting stage. Isn't this too strong? Isn't the gap too big? Good, senior brother Lu Ming is mighty. Pang Shi reacted and shouted excitedly. At this moment, the others also reacted. This is too powerful, isn't it? He defeated Duanmu Jinming in one move? Indeed, It seems that I have underestimated Lu Ming. In my opinion, Lu Ming should be at the late stage of the Martial Master Realm, or even at the peak of the Martial Master Realm. With this strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to win 5 times in a row. The newcomer king is indeed the newcomer king. We still underestimated him. Many people's faces turned grave. Those who had looked down on Lu Ming felt their faces turn red. Who else wants to fight? Lu Ming didn't even look at Duanmu Jinming, who had fallen off the fighting stage. His eyes continued to look around. Let me. Then, a young man jumped onto the fighting stage. Junior brother Lu Ming, please advise me. This young man's cultivation was at the late stage of the Martial Master Realm, but he didn't dare to look down on Lu Ming. He cupped his fists and said politely, "Well said, please." Lu Ming said with a smile. Boom. This young man used an iron rod. When he waved it, it whistled and its power was extraordinary. Lu Ming was a little more polite to this young man. He used 10 moves to blast him off the fighting stage. Chapter 101. On the eastern grandstand, Yarrow Tianyu's face darkened. The other people's faces were also ghastly. Damn it. Lu Ming's cultivation level has improved so much in just a few months. Senior brother Yarrow, you have to kill him. Otherwise, he might be able to make it to the bronze list after some time. The red-robed young man said. Why don't we let Jiang Hao go? A young man suggested. Yarrow Tianyu nodded and ordered, Jiang Hao, go up. Don't hold back. Don't give Lu Ming a chance to admit defeat. On the side, a thin young man smiled coldly and said, Senior brother Yarrow, don't worry. I won't give him a chance to say admit defeat. After saying that, his figure flickered a few times and appeared on the fighting ring like a ghost. Isn't that Jiang Hao? Azure Dragon Institute's Jiang Hao. Yes, it's him. Why is he here? Lu Ming is in danger. Jiang Hao had a 5-match winning streak a year ago, but for some reason, he hasn't participated in the challenge on the bronze platform. Therefore, his result was automatically cancelled, but his strength is definitely above that. Looks like Yarrow Tianyu is here. Lu Ming has offended Yarrow Tianyu before. Let's see how Lu Ming will deal with it. As soon as Jiang Hao appeared on the stage, there was a heated discussion. Yarrow Tianyu asked you to come up. Lu Ming looked at Jiang Hao. Just now, he saw Jiang Hao beside Yarrow Tianyu. Hee. Lu Ming, I wasn't there the last time at the Star Moon Pavilion. Otherwise, you would have been a corpse. But it's not too late now. If you want to admit defeat, do it now. I won't give you any chance later. Jiang Hao smiled coldly. That's what I want to say to you. Lu Ming said indifferently. At this moment, the referee announced the start of the challenge. Whoosh. As soon as the referee finished speaking, Jiang Hao's figure disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was more than 20 meters away. Then, with another flash, he was already in front of Lu Ming. His figure was as fast as a ghost. Clang. At this moment, Jiang Hao suddenly drew his sword from his waist. This was a flexible sword that was wrapped around Jiang Hao's waist. Now that it was suddenly pulled out, it was impossible to guard against. In addition, Jiang Hao's movement technique was extremely fast. He was like an assassin walking in the dark. Even if one's cultivation was higher than his, they would still fall into his trap. Unfortunately, Lu Ming was no ordinary person. Ultimate Flowing Light. Lu Ming executed the fastest move of the Flowing Light sword art with his huge sword. In the past, he had always used a thin sword to execute the Flowing Light sword art. The whistling of the sword was sharp and dense. But now, he was using a huge sword. The speed was just as fast, but the whistling of the sword was as loud as thunder. Poochie. A head flew high into the air and then rolled down the fighting stage. Only a headless corpse was left on the fighting stage. One move, another move. Jiang Hao, who had won 5 consecutive victories, was killed on the fighting ring. This time, even some of the geniuses on the bronze list had serious expressions. What a fast swordsmanship. What a strong power. This Lu Ming's swordsmanship is actually average. But his explosive power is so strong that it increased the speed of his swordsmanship by a large margin. He killed Jiang Hao in one move. Could it be that he practiced the path of body refinement? Some of the geniuses on the bronze list whispered. Lu Ming wins, the middle-aged judge announced. Then he asked people to clean up the fighting stage and carry away Jiang Hao's body. Bang! In the eastern stands, Yarrow Tianyu slammed the armrest of his seat. His true qi gushed out and smashed the armrest. If I'm not wrong, this Lu Ming should have practiced the path of body refinement. He Tai said. That's right. He must have practiced the path of body refinement. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such explosive power. But he didn't practice the path of body refinement last time. In just 3 months, his body can't be that strong. He Tai, if Lu Ming wins 8 consecutive battles, you go and finish him. Yarrow Tianyu ordered. Okay. He Tai nodded. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at the eastern stands. Yarrow Tianyu, why did you send someone to die? Don't worry, it'll be your turn soon. Lu Ming said in a clear voice. Provocation. This was a naked provocation. Everyone's gaze shifted from Lu Ming to Yarrow Tianyu. They couldn't help but think of the grudge between Lu Ming and Yarrow Tianyu 3 months ago. Interesting. Many people were looking forward to it. This year's newcomer king was too strong. He dared to talk to Yarrow Tianyu like that. They wondered what the consequences would be. Ha ha ha. Yarrow Tianyu laughed out of anger. He didn't hide the killing intent in his eyes. He sneered, Lu Ming, I really hope you can win 10 consecutive battles and get on the bronze list to challenge me. At that time, I'll let you know what despair is. Yarrow Tianyu, you and your subordinate dog are really the same. Just now, Jiang Hao told me to admit defeat as soon as possible, or else I wouldn't have a chance. In the end, reality proved that he was just a useless person with a mouth full of bubbles. Now, you're the same. Birds of a feather flock together. Lu Ming curled his lips. Lu Ming, let's see who's the one with a mouth full of bubbles. Yarrow Tianyu snorted coldly. His face was gloomy and he didn't say anything else. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He then looked around and said, Now, who wants to fight me? The crowd quieted down. They looked at each other. For a moment, no one dared to go up. Lu Ming's combat strength had been revealed just now. Jiang Hao was killed in one strike. He definitely had the strength to win 7 or even 8 consecutive battles. Who would go up and look for trouble? After a while, a young man jumped onto the stage. But this young man was very polite. He cupped his fists and said, Junior brother Lu Ming is a dragon among men. I know I'm not your opponent, but I can't resist the urge to spar with junior brother Lu Ming. I hope junior brother Lu Ming will go easy on me. As the saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling face. Since he was being polite, Lu Ming also smiled and said, You're too polite. Then let's spar. This young man was not weak. At the beginning of the battle, Lu Ming deliberately went easy on him. After a dozen moves, the young man took the initiative to admit defeat. After that, there were no obstacles. 5 consecutive victories, 6 consecutive victories, 7 consecutive victories. Finally, 8 consecutive victories. These people had no enmity with Lu Ming. They were all very polite. Therefore, Lu Ming did not erupt with too much strength. He only won by a small margin. Especially in the 8th battle, Lu Ming fought with a young expert who had 7 consecutive victories. He suppressed his cultivation and exchanged more than 30 moves with him before winning by a small margin. This made many people think that Lu Ming's combat strength should be around 8 consecutive victories. Lu Ming smiled faintly. If not, how could a big fish appear? He Tai, we have a rough idea of Lu Ming's strength. You go. Yarrow Tianyu ordered. Senior brother Yarrow, don't worry. I will break all the bones in his body. Chapter 102. He Tai has made his move. It's him. This is going to be interesting. He Tai's body is extremely strong, and his close combat ability is also very strong. Lu Ming seems to have also cultivated the way of body refining. Who do you think will win? It's hard to say. He Tai had 8 consecutive victories a few months ago. He must be stronger now. However, Lu Ming, the new king of this year, rose too quickly. It's really shocking. No one knows if he has any trump cards. Therefore, it's hard to say who will win this battle. Yeah. I didn't come in vain today. Everyone stared at the fighting ring with great interest. Lu Ming had exceeded everyone's expectations. He was just a new disciple this year, but he had already won 8 battles in a row. As long as he won 2 more battles, he would be able to enter the bronze list. This was rare even in the history of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. What everyone was concerned about was whether he could win or not. Would He Tai be able to stop him? In the fighting ring, Lu Ming and He Tai stood opposite each other. Lu Ming, last time, you were saved by Mulins. This time, let's see who can save you. He Tai revealed a cruel smile. Lu Ming touched his forehead speechlessly and said, "Look, again. I just said that birds of a feather flock together. Did Yarrow Tianyu teach you all this? Let me teach you. Saying such words is the right of the strong. The weak do not have the right to say such words." Haha, there was a burst of laughter. Lu Ming's words were obviously mocking Yarrow Tianyu. It was too interesting. You'll soon understand who's the strong one, He Tai said with a gloomy face. Is that so? You're good at nothing but your body and your fists. Then I'll use my fists to fight with you. Lu Ming smiled faintly, then waved his hand and the giant sword disappeared. He faced He Tai with his bare hands. This move caused the crowd to be in an uproar again. What? Lu Ming is actually not using a weapon and wants to fight He Tai with his fists. Unwise, unwise. Lu Ming underestimated the enemy too much. Isn't this using his own weakness against the enemy's strength? He's still young after all. He's still too careless in his actions. I don't think so. Lu Ming doesn't seem like an unwise person. In the Eastern Grandstand. Haha, Lu Ming is really courting death. I didn't expect him to be so stupid to actually compete with He Tai in a fistfight. Idiot, to think that I thought he was someone important. Beside Yarrow Tianyu, the red-robed young man and the others laughed mockingly. Yarrow Tianyu's eyes flashed and he frowned slightly, but he didn't say anything. On the fighting ring, He Tai saw that Lu Ming had put away his battle sword and was overjoyed. He shouted, "Lu Ming, you said it yourself. Don't go back on your words." He originally only had 60 to 70% chance of defeating Lu Ming, but now that Lu Ming had actually abandoned his battle sword, he immediately felt that he had a 100% chance of killing Lu Ming. How could he not be happy? Lu Ming was a typical example of courting death. Don't worry, Lu Ming, never go back on my words. But you better not admit defeat later. There was an inexplicable smile at the corners of Lu Ming's mouth. Don't worry, if I admit defeat today, I'll get out of here. He Tai immediately said, as if he was afraid that Lu Ming would go back on his words. However, in the grandstand, Yarrow Tianyu's frown deepened. He didn't know why, but when he saw Lu Ming's calm expression, he had a bad premonition in his heart. At this moment, the referee announced the start of the match. "Haha, take this," He Tai roared. The muscles all over his body swelled up. There was a layer of faint black light on his skin, making his muscles look like pieces of black iron, making He Tai look like a steel monster. Bam! Bam! He Tai strode forward. Every step he took covered a distance of 10 meters. Every step he took on the fighting stage caused a loud rumbling sound to ring out. In a few breaths, He Tai rushed in front of Lu Ming. His huge fist was aimed at Lu Ming's head, with a sinister smile on his face. At this moment, Lu Ming punched out. This punch was aimed at He Tai's fist. Boom! The two men's fists collided with each other, causing a loud explosion. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They stared at the two, and a thought flashed through their minds. Can Lu Ming withstand it? But soon, they knew the answer. A strong figure stumbled back 5 or 6 steps before he could regain his balance. This figure was actually He Tai. And Lu Ming's figure didn't even sway. Hiss! The sound of people inhaling cold air was heard. The air seemed to have frozen at this moment. Almost everyone opened their mouths wide enough to stuff a duck egg. Their eyes were wide open, and their eyeballs almost popped out. This was unbelievable. Lu Ming abandoned his weapon and fought with his fist. How could he push He Tai back 5 or 6 steps with one punch? Could it be that Lu Ming also practiced fist techniques? Could it be that Lu Ming's physical body was stronger than He Tai's? But that was impossible. They hadn't heard that Lu Ming practiced the way of body refining before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in such a sorry state 3 months ago. But how could his physical body be cultivated to such a level in just 3 months? Unless he had obtained some heaven and earth treasure. Ah, Lu Ming, I'm going to kill you. He Tai was pushed back by Lu Ming's punch. Looking at the shocked eyes around him, he felt greatly insulted and hated Lu Ming to the bone. He let out an angry roar and put his hands on his waist. A pair of metal gloves appeared on his hands, and he rushed towards Lu Ming. In the process of rushing out, his bloodline erupted. The level 4 giant bear bloodline increased his strength by another 40%. Then I'll play with you. Lu Ming's mouth was still holding an indifferent smile. With a thought, his strength increased a bit and he punched towards He Tai. Barehanded against He Tai's spirit weapon gloves. Boom! Their fists collided for the second time. A roar that was even more intense than before rang out. Then, at the place where the two people's fists collided, a burst of powerful strength chi erupted. The strength chi was like a gale, sweeping in all directions. Some of the disciples who were nearby were almost swept up by the gale. Be careful. There was a lot of noise. These disciples used their chi to resist the gale. On the fighting stage, Lu Ming and He Tai's figures swayed slightly. They were evenly matched. He blocked it. Lu Ming blocked it again. Unbelievable. Lu Ming hasn't even activated his bloodline, and is barehanded. He Tai has already activated his bloodline and is even wearing a pair of spirit weapon gloves. Too strong. Lu Ming is too strong. As long as he can hold on for 2 minutes, when He Tai's bloodline power is exhausted, he will win. Not bad. Come again. Lu Ming's indifferent voice rang out. Violent bear fist, go to hell. He Tai roared and punched out again. The shock in his heart was stronger than anyone else. He knew that he had to end the battle quickly, otherwise, he would really be defeated after 2 minutes. He Tai erupted with all his strength. Boom! Lu Ming punched out again. This time, he increased his strength. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.